Kathy Ondas with Simply Cards by Kathy, and thank you for joining me on this Sunday evening for Simply Sunday Stampin'. It's nice to have some fun and make some projects or just relax a little bit. Hopefully you'll grab a cup of coffee, tea, or whatever else you may choose to drink and join me for the next 30 minutes while we make a couple of really cute cards. So I'm going to flip this camera down, so give me just a second so that you can see everything we're going to be doing. Hopefully you can see everything. We are going to be using Season's Blessing bundle, and but we aren't going to use it for any holiday cards. We're actually going to make cards that you can use every day. I tend to hesitate to buy special bundles because I like to be able to use my stamp sets through the year. And as I first looked at this bundle in the catalog, I kind of bypassed it, but I went back and looked at it and I actually love it. It really has some beautiful options for everyday cards, including sayings. The bundle is called Season's Blessings Bundle, and it consists of the Season's Blessings stamp set, and you can see I've been using it. My die stamps are a little bit discolored, and also the seasonal basket dies, which I really love. So we are going to use these. I've done a lot of the prep work, and we're going to make two really fun cards. I'm going to take this out of the way and bring in my catalog. And just on page 94, you'll be able to see this Season's Blessings bundle. And don't forget, if you do buy it as a bundle, you get 10% off. So, and you can see, not only do they have holiday cards with the poinsettias, but you have some regular flowers, almost like little morning glories. You have leaves for the fall, some greenery baskets, a lot of fun. Our first card we're going to make is this one. With this, I used a lot of the dies. I used this one primarily for these two baskets, and you can see I cut it down. And then there's a small stamp right here with this die that you can cut it out. And this stamp is textured. So we're going to go through and make this card. With this, I am using crumb cake cardstock. I also used, for my top layer, crumb cake, and I used the macrame embossing folder. And I don't know if you can see that on the card, but I really like the texture with that embossing folder. I think it adds a lot to the card. Now, don't worry about measurements or what I've used, because later tonight I will have this up and you'll be able to click on the site. It will take you to all of the measurements, all the supplies I used, and it even gives you step-by-step direction as to how to make both cards that we're going to be doing. So let's set this off to the side, and I'm going to bring in my supplies for the first card. Okay, the first card, we're going to be using lots of little pieces here. So you can see I did do a lot of the prep work here, and I've cut out my dies for the flowers. I've done some leaves, and we're ready to go. Now, with this card, so let's get started. I'm going to take this card, and it is an 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and fold it on my score line and use my bone folder just to get a nice crisp fold. I'm going to take the embossed piece of crumb cake, and I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue. I'm going to go ahead and put this on. And this is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And again, all of the measurements will be posted later this evening after the video. Okay, next, most of the assembly is simply taking pieces, parts, and putting together. So I'm going to show you this basket was stamped with the stamp and then die cut. And one of the things that I did is I took my cinnamon cider, because you can see the texture, whoops, sorry about that. You can see the texture of that, and I wanted to give it just a little bit more depth. So what I did is just take my cinnamon cider and I just went over those little lines that look like the weave in the basket, just to give it a little bit more dimension. Is good. And I think I'll even fill it in up in here where they have the little weave. All right. I'm going to set that off to the side. Now I want to show you this large basket, and you can see how many small pieces that you have once you die cut this. If you've watched my videos in the past, you'll know I've said I'm pretty messy when it comes to these small pieces. So one thing that I use is I use the piercing mat from Stampin' Up, and I use my pick tool. And I go through, and I've done this already, so I'm not going to have you watch me do the whole thing, but just to show you that if you just kind of push it through on this piercing mat, they stick to the mat. And then you don't have them all over the place and have a mess all around. So just a little tip for you for that. So we're going to bring in our baskets, and I already have them cut. I have 2 cut, and what I'm going to do for the one is I want to cut the handles off of this. So I'm just going to take my scissors, and I'm simply going to snip the handles off. And I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm going to cut down about 2/3 or 1/3 of the way. So I have about 2/3 of the original basket. And we're going to set these off to the side. Now you can see with the card that I did, I put stripes on my basket, and there's a couple ways you can do this. You could cut another basket in a bold color and then cut stripes, or cut a couple rows of that color and adhere it with glue. But what I chose to do, and I thought was a little bit faster or quicker, was to use my Stampin' blends. So what I have here is the dark Calypso Coral, and I also have my dark Night of Navy. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the wider end, and I'm just going to color a couple rows of this, and it goes pretty quickly, just to give it a little bit of dimension. And I like that look of the baskets, because you do see that quite a bit in a row. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing with the smaller basket, and I'm actually even going to trim this down one more row, just because I want it a little bit smaller. And again, I'm going to use my the wider end, and I'm going to color in 3 rows, and we have those done. So there's our baskets with our dies, and I just want to take a look at how I want to arrange them. So I'm going to put the larger one in the middle, And I think the stamped one off to the side, and then this one a little bit lower. We've got that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is at first I'm going to adhere this one down. I'm just going to put it on the edge. Now I don't want to adhere the top right up here, so I'm going to go a little bit lower because I want to be able to put my leaves and branches in there. So let's put that here. And then here are all the die cuts for the leaves. As you can see, if I bring the stamp set back in, I stamped the large leaves. This is one large die in the old olive. And then I stamped the flowers that almost look like a tulip or a lily. And then those that almost look like a daisy or I guess a morning glory. So I'm going to take, when you cut the dies for this one stamp that looks like this, it cuts them into two so that you have a large piece and a small. I put this right in here, over to the side. And I'm going to do this one here. I think I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to put this over here. And you can see there's two stems to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my flowers. Now I did two different things with my flowers. These are stamped in Bumblebee. And then I took a dauber and I actually dipped it in Calypso Coral. And I just daubed the stamp lightly and stamped it and to give me that two-tone look. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere this basket, but this one I'm going to adhere on the side, adhere it to both sides. And this is going to be here. And we're going to attach the two flowers. So let's get our glue. And we're going to put just a little bit on the leaves and a little on the stem. And I'm going to go ahead and put that right here. Now, the flowers you could put on with Stampin' Dimensionals, but I actually want to lay mine flat, or at least this first one. And we may do the other one with a Stampin' Dimensional. So let's adhere this here. And let's take a small Stampin' Dimensional and see what we can do with this one. So I'm just going to take a couple small ones, the other one. And there we go. Okay, so this is here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere this large branch. And we're going to put this on a slant. Okay, and then I'm just going to put a little dab of glue here now that I have my leaves there to hold this down. And I'm going to take some of my flowers that I have here, and you can see there's a stem here and a stem here. I'm going to go ahead and attach these. And then I'm going to take another small one and put it right where that other branch is. Okay, now our next basket, I'm going to put that on with Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm actually going to use the bigger ones for here. And then I have this one flower that looks just like these, but it has a little bit of the Calypso Coral on it. And I stamped and cut out the stem for the flower. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that here Just with a little bit of glue. And we're going to go ahead and put our flower in that basket. So here's our flower, and I'm going to slide this down right to the edge of the basket. So I'm going to quit with that, and I stamped my So Thankful, which is a part of the stamp set. And I want to adhere it right on the basket, just the side. So I want us to line up right here with the macrame edge. And I'm just going to put that here. So here's the front of our card. Now for the inside, I am going to take a piece of 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to stamp the greeting that says, "May your day be filled with good things." So I'm going to do it in the Memento Tuxedo Black, and I'm going to line up my paper just on my grid paper because that way I know it's straight. And let's just, there we go. Okay, now I want to decorate or kind of make this look a little bit more fun with something on the inside. So let's put that on. And then we're going to adhere this to the inside of our crumb cake. And we have our first card using the Season's Blessings bundle that has nothing to do with the holidays. So here's our first card. And I think it's so pretty. I love the colors and the inside. So that's our first card for this evening. And now let me clear this away and I'll bring in our second card. So our second card, I've brought in the materials we're going to use to make that card. We're using Balmy Blue cardstock for our base, and the Balmy Blue and White Designer Series paper from the Sweet as a Peach. And then the colors for the stamps, I've used Misty Moonlight, Bumblebee, and Just Jade. I really like those colors together with the Balmy Blue. So we're going to set these off to the side. And again, don't worry about measurements. They will be posted in the post with a link that you can go over and get a list of all the supplies, all the measurements, including the directions for putting the cards together. This is an 8.5 by 5.5. It's scored at 4 1/4, and we're going to go ahead and fold it on its score line and just flatten off that fold. Next, this piece of Designer Series paper is 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. And I'm not going to center this. I'm going to offset it. It's going to be right to the edge of the card on the right-hand side. And we're just going to go ahead and secure that down with some of our multi-purpose glue. What we're going to do with our leaves is we're going to go ahead and arrange them all one at a time. And because they're going to layer on one another, I'm going to start at the top. So this is the Just Jade. And I'm trying to curve this around this part of the card. So let's set that there, and let's see where we would put our bumblebee. So I kind of like those. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to work with just the Just Jade. And we can add some of our smaller leaves to the design. So let's go ahead and we're going to secure this one right here. And just a few dots of glue. You don't need a lot because it will stick. And it's really just kind of working with the shapes and kind of maneuvering them so that they fit in behind one another. So we're going to adhere that there, and let's put this one here. Now we're going to go ahead and use the bumblebee, and we'll just hide it a little bit behind that leaf. So let's go ahead and secure this one. And it's really just a matter of almost like putting together a puzzle, or how you want that to look when you're placing them on one another. And remember, this is a card we cased from the design team. And let's adhere that down. And now I'm going to go ahead and secure the Misty Moonlight. And this one I think we're going to pop right in here just to kind of cover up a little bit of that, the stems. So here's our half circle or crescent. And then we can take some of these fall colored leaves, and again, these were done in Bumblebee, and I used the dauber and just put a little bit of Cajun craze on there. So you don't want it to be too much, but you do want to use them to kind of fill in. So up here, I'm just going to use a small one. And I'm going to take another one, and I'm going to add, I want to add a larger one below. So let's take this here. And we'll add that there. Okay, so there's our card. And what we're going to do next is the greeting, which is "May your day be filled with good things," and it is from the Season's Blessings bundle. It's going to be stamped in the Bumblebee, and we're going to stamp it directly right on the designer series paper. So, when I'm stamping my greetings, I tend to if I don't check them ahead of time, they can be very crooked for me. So I use my grid paper, and I make sure that my card is lined up straight on a line. And then I go ahead in and stamp my greeting. Next, we're going to bring in a piece of basic white cardstock for the inside of our card. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere it. Now this card, I'm choosing to leave blank so that it can be written on with a personalized message. I want to put a couple leaves on this card just to give it a little bit, to kind of dress it up a little bit. So there's a little bit on the inside. And our card is finished and ready to go. Now, you certainly can stamp a greeting on the inside. I'm just choosing not to because I tend to like to write a personalized message on inside. So let's move this out of the way, and we'll bring our two cards in. Even before that, let's add some gems to this. I have some gilded gems, and they're really beautiful, and they come in a couple different sizes. So let's take one right here. We're going to take a middle, and we're going to just place one right here. I tend to use 3. And I like to try to arrange them almost in a triangle. And let's put one here. And then let's put another one right here. So now we're ready to bring in our other card. So our first card was the So Thankful in Crumb Cake using the macrame embossing folder. And then on the inside, we did stamp it and put a little flower. And the second one, we did an arrangement of fall colored leaves, uses some gilded gems to dress it up, and we left the inside blank. So I hope you enjoyed today's cards. I'm not sure which is your favorite. I really can't tell. But I did want to make cards because, like I said, the Seasons bundle kind of suggests holidays only. And you can see we can do a lot more with this bundle than just holidays. So I hope you enjoyed your time. I certainly enjoyed being with you. Have a good Sunday evening. Take care, and I hope to see you next Sunday for Simply Sunday Stamping. Have a good day.